Then, like I said, the technical issues cannot be addressed by the facilitator or myself, but I'm going to put an email address in the chat now, and you will be able to raise those technical issues if you get stuck. Okay, then she says students not able to hear in class can make use of the recordings. Now, sometimes the hearing thing is a connectivity thing. If you can't hear the facilitator, then you can write in the chat. I'm going to explain to you about the chat. There's a little chat box, and it's on the, when you click on that chat box, it's on the right. It's the box under number 2. Okay. Whoever joined the class now, you need to mute your microphone. Hello. If you join the class now, will you go look at point number 1? Okay, we also have an option to mute everybody. Okay, thank you. But we don't want to use that option. We want you to have a voice. But it is an option. We can mute everybody and then we can open it again. But we don't want to do that. We want people to have a voice. But if it's a case, and I know it's new, so I'm not going to belabor the point. So I've also I've pasted in the chat a link for you to complete for an attendance register. So you can click on that link and complete that link. And if you can please just add your student number in the chat. So the chat under point number 2, the chat is the second icon next to the people. The first one is the people. The second one is the chat. The third one, you click on your hand. So it's you can raise your hand or lower your hand. Okay. The 3 dots is actually not for you. That's for us to share documents and things like that. Okay. So I'm gonna hand you over to Advocate Kleinhans now. Look here, there's no stress about I don't want people to stress about what is happening here now, because this is your first lesson. But I want you, if you can please put your student number in the chat like I requested, and then if you can mute your disable your camera and your microphone. And then I'm just going to share a last slide with you, and then Advocate Kleinhans will speak. And then after that, you will see him. He'll be all yours. And I will do some admin maintenance on the side here in the chats as to what still needs. So let me just see. If you all do you understand, you can write. Do you understand where to go to for the chat? It's the second one on the top next to the next to the 2 little heads. The little heads show participants. And the next block is for the conversation. Okay. So now I'm just going to share a little introduction that tell them to keep quiet, please.
Het fijn dat close het doen.
Okay, can you see the other slide? Okay, they can see it now. Okay, so I'll hand you over to Advocate Kleinans now. Huh?
And the slide I gave you, can I just have a copy of that? Good evening, students. So they all muted, they hear me.
They can hear you.
Okay.
No, they can talk also.
Okay. Good evening, students. Can all of you hear me?
Good evening, Advocate. Yes, we can.
Okay, welcome to our new reality, our online sessions and all of that. As new as it is to you, it's new to me as well. Okay, so this is our first session and we're going to make the best of it. Okay, so you have the slide in front of you. Okay, and tonight I'm just going to concentrate. I just want all of us and you especially to get the feel of this and to get used to my style of interaction. So then we can take it from there. Are there any questions before I start? I'll give opportunity for 2 questions only before I start. No questions? Can I continue? Can I continue?
Please go ahead. No questions.
Okay. So what is this whole concept of law? Can anyone, and now I'm going to give opportunity for 2 responses. Can anyone tell me, and now I don't want a textbook definition, I don't want to know a definition that you studied verbatim, but I want to know what is your understanding of the law? What is your understanding of the law? I need 2 responses quickly.
Well, I would say from my side, it
Okay,
is
can I
something.
stop you there? Who am I speaking to now?
You're speaking to Kanyisa Merana.
Hi, Kanyisa. Okay,
Hi,
Kanyisa, where are you from?
I am from Western Cape, Cape Town. I stay in Somerset West.
Okay. Kanyisa, what is your understanding of the law?
The law
Of the term law.
for me, it is a legal rules that govern our behavior, whether we as individuals or the society. I would say it's rules that govern us in terms of how we should behave amongst one another, and in order to achieve most probably harmony, peace, and how to live with one another in a society, or how to fit in, so that not everyone does their own thing, I would say.
Okay,
Thank you.
Kanyisa, for if that was in the exams or that was a test, okay, if a mark allocation for that was 4 marks, how much do you think you would have gotten?
My goodness. Um, well, I would say 2 for now.
I would say half, okay? And I'm going to tell you later why I say so, okay?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Kanisa, thank you for that response. The rest of the students, please be mindful, okay, that when you give me an answer, it must be that type of answer that you are prepared to write down in an exam answer paper. Okay, so when we speak, I want to speak to prepared students. Okay. Next, can I have another volunteer to tell me? Thank you, Kanisa. Can I have another volunteer to tell me what you understand under the term law? One more volunteer. No one? No one? Students, law. What is...
Edward,
Yes,
can I respond?
I'm waiting on a response. Are you going to volunteer?
I'm going to volunteer, yes.
What is your name, sir?
My name is Llewellyn Peters. I am in Cape Town in Gordons Bay.
Mr.
And I'm a
Peters,
first year
welcome to the
student.
session. Welcome to the session. Please give me your response.
My response would be that it would be a system of rules for a particular country or a community which recognize and, as in my view, is sort of a watchdog for human behavior and the actions of humans, and with regards to certain penalties for that human behavior. That would be my answer, and it would not be a 4-point answer.
Good answer. Good answer. For the rest of you, let us go to the slide. I've made a very simple slide. I'm starting off very simply and informally for now. Okay. So the first point on the slide, there's a word that says human behavior. Okay. Now, in a legal context, what can we describe human behavior as? Anybody? What can we describe human behavior as? Any volunteers? Kanisa is telling me you cannot see the slide. Can all of you see the slide?
No, advocate, we cannot see the slide.
Okay. I'm going to get some support here quickly. Give me 1 second so I can just call my support so they can just put the slide up. Give me 1 second. Claudine, I need your help quickly, please.
Okay, are you finished with the screen?
Apologies about that, students. The students say they can't see the slide.
Oh.
Students, give me a few seconds. We're busy putting on the slide. You can put that in my face also. Students, do you see the slide now?
No, advocate.
No,
Great.
no.
Not yet. Not yet.
Do you see it now?
Not yet.
Why is it taking so long? Okay. Can you maybe just read that few points to them? I'll paste it in the chat.
Okay.
Right.
So there's a slide and the heading starts with a question. The heading says, what is law? Okay, so those of you who have notepads in front of you, write down the following. This is the information on the slide. The first, the slide starts with a question, what is law? And the first bullet on the slide is human behavior. The second bullet is norms, Norms, norms. The third bullet is governing. The fourth bullet says how to interpret. Do you see the slide now? The fourth bullet says how to interpret.
How to
Interpret. Do you have that? Bullet number 5, branches of law. Bullet number 6, substantive law. Bullet number 7, procedural law. Okay. Just indicate to me when you are able to see the slide. Now, my first question to you in terms of the information I gave you now, what would you say to me? The term human behavior, what does that mean in a legal context? Okay, I need 2 volunteers again. Human behavior, what does that mean in a legal context? Anybody? No one? Are you able to hear me? Guys, I'm getting
Yes, we
notice.
hear you.
Okay.
Yes, we hear you, advocate.
So my question is, in a legal sense, what does human behavior mean? Okay. Listen to me carefully. In a legal context, human behavior is that behavior, okay, that attracts legal consequences. Now, I'm going to explain by means of an example. The first example is myself, Owen, having a cup of coffee. Okay, I'm sitting behind my desk and I'm sipping on a cup of coffee. Question to you, is that human behavior, yes or no? Myself sipping on a cup of coffee behind my desk, can that be regarded as human behavior, yes or no?
No. I would say it can be regarded as human behavior, but not in the legal context.
Very
because
good.
it doesn't attract legal consequences.
Okay, very good. So human behavior is directing your bodily movements to achieve a purpose. So what am I doing? I'm taking my arms, I'm using my arms, I'm picking up the cup, I'm putting the cup to my mouth and I'm sipping on coffee. That is human behavior. That is human actions. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you another example. Owen driving his vehicle down the main road He approaches a red light and he ignores the red light and speeds the car and goes over the red light. Is that human behavior?
Yes, advocate, that is human behavior.
Why do you say so?
Because it attracted lawful consequences for ignoring a red light.
No. No.
Okay.
Human. Now let me explain that to you. I told you I am driving the vehicle. Okay? So it means myself as a human being, I am in control of that vehicle. Okay? I am directing my bodily movements to control the vehicle. Why? Because my hand is on the steering wheel, my foot is on the accelerator cable, and I am in full control of that vehicle. Okay? That is my human behavior. Okay? And I'm directing my thoughts. My thoughts are, Owen, you know it is wrong not to stop at a red light. But what do you do anyway? You know it's wrong and you still proceed to complete that action. So I need you to see it in that context. So why would you say to me that that particular human behavior, why would that particular human behavior by me, why would that attract legal consequences? Now I need two answers again.
I would say because you are deliberately violating the rules. You know it's wrong, but you still go on to skip the red robot. You are aware it's wrong, but you're doing it in any case.
Why does it attract legal consequences?
Because the rules for the road is that if there's a red robot, you stop. And that would be something that is imposed upon us by the state. So if
Very, very
you
good. Very good. Continue.
So if you skip the robot, then you are putting yourself in a position where you can face fines or whatever the penalties or punishment for that particular action is.
Very good answer. I'm impressed with you. Eh? Can I get another response? Can I get one more response? Who is Nolubabalo? Nolubabalo, are you there? Okay, Nolubabalo is not answering me. Kanisa, I have you. Where's Jennifer? Is Jennifer there?
Hi, Advocate. I think that Kanisa
Jennifer?
just, yes, hi,
Okay. Jennifer,
yes.
please, you heard what Kanisa said now. Okay.
Yeah.
So the behavior in the second example I explained to you. Explain to me why would you say it would attract legal consequences?
I'm not sure I have anything more to add than what Kanisa said, but just that the behavior and the movement of your specific body going across the traffic light, which is in the law, is illegal against the law, then means that it will attract legal consequences. So it will count as human behavior.
Next question. Okay, I'm going to give you one more example. Okay. I have a pit bull. Okay. My dog, my puppy, or my favorite dog is a pit bull. Okay. My driveway gate stands open and a jogger runs past my house. The pit bull chases after the jogger and bites the jogger, causing bodily injuries. Did all of you hear that example? Can the action of the pit bull be regarded as human behavior?
I would say not the action of the pit bull, but the action of the gate being left open, which was presumably done by you, would be the human behavior that could have legal consequence.
Let's say I wasn't at home and I didn't even leave the gate open. But somehow the pit bull got out. I had nothing to do with it. I'm just the owner. Any responses? Okay. I want you to ponder on that example in the meanwhile. Okay. The next point on the slide is norms. In a legal context, what does norms mean? Anybody? In a legal context, what does the word norms mean? What would norms mean to a community or a society or something like that? Non Kazimulo, where are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear, sir.
Okay.
I can't see the slide.
Okay. So norms in a legal sense, what would you think it means? What would you say is a norm? Norm. What would you say is a norm? Okay, I'm going to give you another example. As a Christian, okay, I go to church every Sunday. Okay, so it's a norm for Christians to go to church every Sunday. Okay, the Bible says, you shall not steal. Okay, so it's a norm for most of us in society that when we go to the shop to buy bread, we pay for it. Okay? It's a norm for me as a Christian to, when I wake up in the morning, I say a prayer. Before I go sleep at night, I say a prayer. Those are all norms that characterize our society. Now, question to you, student. What does law have to do with norms? What does law have to do with norms?
Advocate, can I go ahead?
Yes. Yes, I'm listening.
Okay, so according to my understanding, I would say a norm is a human conduct or a legal rule to human behavior in which is binding to the society or individuals.
I hear you. Students, I have a request. I'm not liking the fact that I don't see people's faces and you are able to see my face. So are you able to switch on your camera so I can see your faces at least? Let me see. Let me see who I'm talking to. Those of you who are able to put on your cameras, put it on for me. Kanisa, can you repeat that answer for me, please? In a legal context, what is a norm? Anyone?
Advocate, I would say that a norm is a binding rule or principle, specifically within a community where an individual's actions is subject to any legal binding. But basically, a norm for me is a legal principle or a rule. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Question. Do all norms attract legal consequences?
I would say no, not all norms would attract legal consequences.
Why would you say no?
Because in my view, apologies for that, certain norms in certain communities differs from other communities, and therefore
Can you give me an example? Can you give me an example? Okay.
I have to think now about an example.
Now let me give you guys an example.
Okay.
Let's look at marriage. Okay. Kanisa, the two of us are married. You are married to me. Okay. And as I would assume that both of us are Christians. Okay. So in the Christian value system, and this comes from the Bible, okay, when the institution of marriage states that you shall not commit adultery. Okay, so now the two of us are married, and what do? I go out on a date with Jennifer. Okay, am I committing adultery? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Okay. Now, my fundamental question to you as law students, me committing adultery against Kanisa, is that against the law?
No, it's not against the law. It's against the religious norms. Because according to
It's
the religion,
against,
you're not allowed to commit adultery.
very good. So certain behavior, and this is what I want to get across to you. Certain behavior, okay, are against our value system, are against our norms as dictated by society, the society we live in. Okay? But certain human behavior also attract legal consequences in terms of the law governing society. Okay? So if I commit adultery, okay, the consequence thereof is that I break Kanisa's heart. But I cannot be locked up for that action. Okay? But if I drive my vehicle at 120 kilometers in a 60-kilometer zone, what am I doing? I am breaking the law of the country. Okay. So it's very important for us as future legal practitioners. I mean, for you, I can't include me in us. I'm a legal practitioner already. So it's very important for you as a law student and as a prospective legal practitioner to be able to distinguish between behavior that are in conflict with our norms and human behavior that's in conflict with our laws. Okay, so you must be able to make a differentiation between that. Is that understood? Okay.
Understood.
Students, what I want you to be mindful of also is that for this session only, I'm not going to work so fast because we need to get used to this online system. We need to get used to each other. Okay, so tonight I'm going to talk a bit slowly. Tomorrow when it's SCL or other modules, or when I see you next week again, we're going to go a bit faster. Okay, what I also want you to do is, if there are things you are not clear with now, and you've done it on your own and you're still struggling with it, schedule a consultation with me immediately. So then it's just the two of us. We either do a WhatsApp call, or we do it via email, or we do it via Teams, where it's just me and you, where you consult with me for an hour. Okay? So the next point on the PowerPoint presentation is the word governing. Okay. My question to you is why? And the word governing is synonymous with the word control. Now, my question to you is, why must human behavior be controlled? Why must our behavior, why must my behavior, why must your behavior be controlled? Or why must it be governed?
Because I would say you must be able to fit within a society and live with other people without doing as you please, so that you can have a system that can guide you in terms of your actions. Because for the earlier examples that you were making, your actions can impact on another person, whether it's negatively or positively. So if you are not governed, then it means anyone can do anything anytime. There's no control of the situation.
I will also add to that, advocate, that ungoverned and uncontrolled behavior will also infringe on the human rights of others, and it will also, at the end of the day, we will sit with an unlawful society because people are not binded to any lawful behavior, and then we might as well scrap every human right that there is within the book if human behavior is not governed and sort of managed.
Your answers are good. Now I'm going to ask you another question based on your answers. Okay. Why would we allow ourselves to be governed? On what basis do we, as members of a community or members of a society, on what basis do we allow us to be governed?
I think it often the law, not all the time, but it does often coincide with your individual norms and religious norms, as well as your community mores. So I think then, because the majority of people feel that the majority of the laws are correct and that they should be applied, that's why we allow ourselves to be governed.
Jennifer, your answer is part of that. Okay? It's part of the reason, but you're not giving me the complete reason. Guys, you will also find out, you will also notice that I've been in the legal fraternity for more than 10 years. Okay? You will also notice that many of the things I discuss, you're going to pick this up. Okay? And that is why I need you to make notes, write down what I say. Many of the things I discuss with you will not be in your notes. Okay? So Jennifer stated that the reason why we allow ourselves to be governed is firstly part of the societal norms, and also because the community mores places an obligation on us. Jennifer, that is correct. Is there anything else that says to me, I will voluntarily subject myself to rules? Why would we do that? Because there are some of us that don't go to church. Some of us that don't believe in God. So we're not guided by societal norms. Okay? So why would we subject ourselves to being governed or controlled?
I would say for the sake of equality, so that we're not treated unfairly and discriminated against in our society,
Kanisa,
fairness and just.
Kanisa, what would you say then would be the basis of that?
Sorry, advocate, come again.
What would you say would be the basis of that? Why?
For you mean my answer for the sake of equality and inequality?
Yes. What would be the basis of me being one to be treated equal? What is the basis of me one to be treated with human dignity? What would you say would be the basis for that?
Because I would say we all, if we cannot stand up for ourselves, then we need a system in place that will protect those rights.
Very good
The
again.
fundamental rights.
Very good again. And my answer to you guys again would be, what would be the basis of that system?
Bill of Rights?
No, now you're talking legislation. So
Okay.
park that thought, okay? I want you to park that thought because we are going to get back to it, okay? So now I would like to go to some definition, and some of you, when I asked the first question, what is law? Some of you gave me some type of textbook definition, but I want you to understand it completely. So when I wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you fast asleep, and I say to you, Kanisa, please tell me what is the law? Then you give it to me with proper understanding. So, rightly enough, our law is a system of rules. Okay? Very, very importantly, our law is a system of rules. And the purpose of that rules is to govern human behavior. Okay? And here we now come to interpretation, because the next point of the slide says how to interpret. Okay? So the definition of law, you can either and you need to write this down. You can either interpret it in a narrow or a strict sense. So there's a narrow or a strict interpretation of the definition of law. Okay? Or there's a wide or broad interpretation of the law. Okay? And if we look at law in a narrow interpretation, it tells us that it's a set of rules that is there to govern human behavior. And if there is transgression of those rules, the result of that transgression can be punitive. There can be punishment attached to it. Okay, so if we view the definition of law in a narrow sense, okay, it speaks to our branch of criminal law. Why? Because it basically tells us if you break the law, there's going to be consequences, and that consequences will be punitive. It is punishment. Meaning, you speak to our branch of law that deals with criminal law. Okay, that's the narrow interpretation. Any questions? Any questions? Does it make sense? Okay. Now, if we speak of the definition of law in a wider sense or in a broader sense, okay, it speaks to the governing of relationships between individuals. And the reason why the relationships between individuals must be governed is to create harmony in society. Okay? And when we look at the governing of relationships between parties, we're speaking more of the definition of law in a civil sense. So now I'm going to give you an example. Okay, let's look at the relationship between an employer and an employee. Okay, so if you look at the relationship of an employer and an employee, how is that governed? It is governed by means of an employment contract. And an employment contract sets down certain terms which the employer and employee must agree to. So the employee will agree that I won't come drunk to work. The employer will agree at the end of every month, I will pay the salary of the employee. Okay? And by having an employment contract in place to govern, you see, I'm using the word govern, to govern an employer-employee relationship. Okay? What does that lead to? It leads to harmony. Because the relationship is governed by certain terms which both parties agree to. So if you look at law in a narrow sense, okay, it has to do with governing human behavior okay, where the consequence is punishment. When you look at law in a wide sense or a broad sense, it has to do with also governing relationships, but the end result is to create harmony in society. Okay, so this is what the purpose of law must mean to you. Okay, firstly, you must know that it's attached to human behavior. You must also know that in society, in terms of human behavior, we distinguish between norms and rules, meaning not all human behavior attracts legal consequences, but human behavior is guided by societal norms. Okay? And in order to interpret what the law is, you need to decide how you're going to interpret it. Are you going to interpret it from a narrow perspective, where we speak of control and punishment? Or are you going to interpret it from a broader perspective, where we speak of relationships between individuals and the end result is to create harmony in society? Okay? Any questions so far? Does this whole concept of law, does it start to make sense now? Yes or no?
It
Is it
has.
starting to make sense now?
It
Okay.
definitely has. I
The
would say also what you just said now, I think it covered on both your definition now. For me, it just covered both public law and private law. That's what I would say
exactly,
now, your definition now
exactly.
that you just gave us.
Exactly, because now I'm moving over to the branches of law in South Africa. Okay? And South African law, the body of South African law, okay, can now be divided into two branches. Okay? Our first branch is public law, and our second branch is private law. Okay, so public law. Okay, can someone tell me in a few sentences what you understand under the term public law?
In a few words, I would say it's the relationship between the state organ and the individuals.
Very good. Tanisa, you must actually leave this chat and go out your gate and walk to your NISA and tell them to give you an LLB. Tell them I say so. Okay, so students, very good answer, thank you. Public law is that legal relationship where you have either the state or a branch of government, okay, involved in a relationship with the individual. And the individual is you and me. Okay, so let's say, let me explain this by example. Let's say I drive down 120 kilometers down the main road. What do I see 10 seconds later? Blue lights behind me and I'm pulled over. Okay. I am now arrested. Who is the organ of state in a relationship with me now?
The
It's
traffic
myself and
officer.
the police. It's myself and the traffic officer or myself and the police. Okay, why? Because the police is now going to exercise some kind of limit over my freedom. What are they going to do? They're going to arrest me. Okay, and when you are arrested, it means some branch of government is now exercising a certain power over your freedom of person. Why? Because they take you, they put handcuffs over you, and they put you in the back of a police van. Okay? So immediately, one of the characteristics you need to draw out of the public law relationship is that the organ of state or the state is the party in the relationship that exerts the most power. Okay? So the balance of power between the two parties is not equal because the state exerts an enormous amount of power over the individual. Okay? Please keep that in mind. And if you now go to I'm coming back to public law. I just gave you a broad overview of what it is about. If you go to our branch of private law, okay, the purpose of our branch of private law is to regulate that relationship between two individuals. Okay? And what you must understand is that in most instances, though the private law relationship between parties, because it's between private parties, private individuals, that relationship is at most instances on an equal level. Okay, so that is the difference, firstly, between public law and private law. In private law, it's the relationship being regulated between private individuals. And normally, the state has no or very little involvement in there. Okay? When it comes to the public law relationship, it's normally a relationship between the state or an organ of state with the individual, and very, very importantly, the balance of power is unequal, very unequal, in favor of the state. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Any questions so far? No questions? Okay. Quickly, before we conclude, I'm going to go to the difference between substantive law and procedural law. Okay. And in order to do that, okay, I'm going to use a very simple example. Okay. How to fry an egg. Okay. So Jennifer, how would you fry an egg?
I would take my frying pan,
Hmm?
heat, crack an egg, and then cook the egg with fat.
No butter, no oil, just throw it into the frying pan.
Good non-stick pan.
Okay. Kanisa, how would you fry an egg?
Unmute, Kanisa.
Kanisa, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry,
Is
I
your
didn't
mic
mute
on?
myself. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I didn't mute. I didn't unmute. Okay, so I would take a pan,
Okay.
frying pan, put it on the stove, switch on the stove, wait for the pan to heat up, put on a little bit of butter, crack an egg, put it in the frying pan, wait for it to cook, and take it out.
Okay. Miss Ladla, I saw you for a second or two. Can you hear me? Okay, Miss Ladla is not responding. Okay. So you are basically telling me to fry an egg, we need a pan, or we need a non-stick pan. We either need some oil, we need a stove or some kind of heat, and we heat the pan, we crack open the egg, and we fry it, and we use an egg lift or something to either turn it around, blah, 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 blah. And when it's done, we put it on a plate. Am I correct? Okay. Now, my question to you is, extract two processes from frying an egg. Give me two processes which you followed. Firstly, what was your end result? Your end result was a fried egg. Okay? That was your end result. Okay? So you have something substantive in front of you, something that you can see, something that you can touch. Am I correct? Okay. What would you think was the other process you followed? How did you manage to get that fried egg? What did you follow?
I followed a process, which is a procedure. In order to fry an egg, you need to put a frying pan and you need heat, otherwise you cannot fry an egg.
Very good. What, in terms of frying an egg, what would you refer that process to? Eh?
It would be a procedural process,
But what would we call it? We would call it a recipe. So at the end of the day, you would follow a certain recipe to fry an egg, and your end result will be a fried egg. Okay? And that is how I want you to view the law. Okay? On the one side, we have our substantive law. And on the other side, we have our procedural law. And now I'm going to explain this by example to you. Okay? So if you have trouble in understanding the difference between substantive law and procedural law, just think of frying an egg. At the end, you have a fried egg, but what did you do? You followed a recipe. You followed a certain procedure. Okay? Think of it like that. I'm trying to simplify things for you. Okay? So when we look at substantive law, we will look at our body of law. And our body of law is all the legal rules that our law consists of. So let's take our body of family law. Okay? And our body of family law states that when a couple, when a marriage relationship breaks down, that couple can now divorce each other. Okay? And in a civil marriage provides that if you married in community of property, you talk of the joint estate, both parties, husband and wife, are equal owners of the joint estate. Okay? That is what the body of law says. Okay? But, Kanisa, if the two of us are now married and you want to divorce me, okay, you have now found out that you are half owner of the estate, you're able to claim maintenance from me, you're able to claim off the house, blah, 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 all of that. Where do you find that information? It's part of our body of family law. Okay, and you're able to go research it. You're able to find that information in decided cases. You're able to find that information in legal principles. It's part of our body of law. Okay. Another part of our body of law is the law of contract. Okay. And the law of contract provides that I am able to borrow you 10,000 Rand. We agree, I'm able to borrow you 10,000 Rand and you are able to pay me back 500 Rand a month. Okay? Why? Because our body of law of contract provides for such an agreement. It's called a loan. Okay? So all these legal principles are contained in our body, in our branches of law. Okay, which makes up our substantive law. Okay, so the definition of a divorce, the definition of murder, what is culpable homicide, okay, those aspects all form part of our body of law. Okay, but let's say I loaned you 10,000 Rand and now I don't pay you. What are you going to do? Or the two of us are not happy in our marriage relationship anymore. What are we going to do?
We go to court.
Why must we go to court? Why can't we just decide we don't love each other anymore and now we divorce? Or you owe me 10,000 Rand, you don't want to pay me, I come tramp down your door and I take your flat screen TV. Can I do that?
No, I think it goes back to being governed again. You can't just budge.
Yes, because now our law provides for certain procedure. Okay, so if you owe me 10,000 Rand and you decide you don't want to pay me, I have to follow a certain legal process. I have to follow a certain procedure, meaning if you refuse to pay me, what must I do firstly? In terms of contract law, I need to send you a letter of demand. Meaning, I need to inform you, the Latin word is I need to put you in more. I need to inform you that because you have defaulted on our agreement, I am now going to exercise my rights in law. Meaning, I now have to send you a letter of demand. Okay? And now, if you ignore the letter of demand, Okay, I have to follow another process. I now have to issue summons against you. And summons is to inform another party that the other party intends to institute court action. I'm going to summon you to court. Okay, so in order to give effect to our body of substantive law, okay, I'm saying it again, in order to give effect to our body of substantive law, we have to use procedural law. Okay, so if I want to divorce you, okay, I need to issue a divorce summons against you to say to you, it will be contained in my particulars of claim. I have to say to you why I'm getting divorced from you and what I want from this divorce. Okay? You, as the other party, now have the option of filing a counterclaim. Okay? That is the process we follow to give effect to substantive law. Okay, so if I drive over the red robot, okay, police can't just take guns and start shooting me. What must they do? Procedural law dictates they must pull me over and they must arrest me. Okay, by me being arrested and me being pulled over, okay, police are now giving effect to the substantive body of criminal law. Okay, so examples of procedural law is the law of civil procedure, the law of evidence, as well as the Criminal Procedure Act. Okay, keep that in mind. So with all of that, okay, I am going to stop here tonight. Okay, we will see each other soon again. My colleagues at UNISA will send out these links that you need to access in order for us to do this again. Please keep abreast of that. Please also note that I'm available for hourly consultations. You will get my schedule via UNISA. I'm available for hourly consultations either via a WhatsApp call or via an email discussion or via a Teams discussion like this where it's just me and you. Okay, so next time we see each other, I'm going to work a bit faster and I will touch on study unit 2 and 3. Okay, any questions before we conclude? No questions? I hope this session was beneficial. Does this first study unit make a bit sense to you now? Okay, so we see each other soon. Best of luck, and hopefully in a few months' time or even next year, we'll see each other face to face in a proper lecture room. Okay? Have a good evening, everybody. Goodbye.
Copy. Okay. Goed.